Sophianic broadcast featuring visionary teacher John Lash. Today is the 27th of March 2018. The title of this broadcast is The Lie of AI Exposed in a Single Word. So this is Ginny, and I'm here with John Lash and Meiga. Back to Sophia.
Yes, we're back to Sophia, it.
The IT.
The IT fembot.
Sophia.
Yes.
If we say Sophia, apologies, it just slips out.
It's just a glitch. We've been saying Sophia for a good 15 years now, and we love to say that word. But of course, Sophia, which has the word fia in it, fear, whereas Sophia rhymes with desire.
And Gaia.
And Gaia. And we'll find that rhyme, Sophia, desire, Gaia, fits beautifully into the little argument that we're presenting today. Right?
It is an IT Vaudeville show.
Yes. And it is a charm offensive using the robot, which is a lifeless machine, in a crude simulation of a living woman. She probably wears her wig now most of the time.
Well, right? She got a makeover. She's been on the front cover of glossy magazines because she got hair and a makeover.
Yeah, she
had makeup lessons.
She had makeup lessons, and one of the clips on YouTube circulating about Shiite. Yeah, the Shiite is that it was on the cover of a fashion magazine, and it was the subject of a makeup video, which, by the way, makeup videos are really huge on YouTube. So some of them have millions of views. So there you go.
Rubble.
The vaudeville continues. Yes. So how are we going to approach this vaudeville act today? Well, we're going to present an argument that I think I can say with confidence that you've never heard before. And in my humble opinion, this argument, this refutation, completely exposes and debunks the hype about AI exceeding human intelligence.
It's a lie.
Which is a big lie. And so that's the aim of our talk today. So how do we move into this?
Well, for start off, it's the Xenosh playing God with artificial intelligence.
This is the way that what you described there is the way a Shakta, or devotee of the power and beauty of the earth, would regard this phenomenon, Sophia. It's simply a vaudeville act demonstrating how the Xenosh play God with the Gaianym. They're playing God, first of all, in their most secret Talmudic belief system. They regard themselves as our creators in the first place. Doreen Dotan said that. And now they're going to replace us, because they have the power to do so. The Xenosh are going to replace us with an upscaled version of a robotic AI humanoids. And so, coming through Sophia is that threat.
Well, it shows their psychopathy, doesn't it? You know, they think they created the human species, that they are gods and they created the human species. But now they want to get rid of the human species,
right,
and replace it with what?
With mechanical simulacra, lifeless robots. And the fact that they want to replace the human species with lifeless robots, beginning with jobs, lifeless robots flipping hamburgers, lifeless robots driving cabs, lifeless robots running whole laboratories and running whole institutions. Right? When is the day when the college students sit in the auditorium in front of a lifeless robot who's teaching them in place of the professor? All of this demonstrates their biophobia. they claim to have created life. They are the Elohim race, but they actually are afraid of life and hate life. So you see when you look at Sophia, see biophobia.
Yeah.
She represents the biophobia of the Zenosh.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Vaudeville Show is actually a psychological operation on us.
Indeed it is. There's a massive psyop taking place around the subject of AI, and that's what we're here to address.
So it's the psychological operation is trying to make us give up the battle before it's even begun.
Well, that's a great point. There is a battle on this earth. I described it in the talks on the Great Deception in the Mythophrenia series. I pointed out there that Christians who propagate this idea of the Great Deception are actually caught in that deception. When you think that you see the Great Deception, that's the evidence that you are trapped in it. So the Great Deception, according to Christian definition, is God and the devil fighting for the human soul. So there's God over there, there's the devil over there, and we're in the middle. But that is not the way that a Gnostic sees it. So how does a Gnostic see it? Well,
those two entities don't exist. Well,
those two entities are just psychotic fictions of the human mind. What the Gnostic sees is humanity here. Over there is the earth and Sophia, she who is the creator of humanity. And standing between the two, trying to separate them, are the enemies of life and the Zenosh.
Yeah.
So that's the real picture. And the psyop continues coming from the enemies of life in an attempt to make us give up this battle. Make us believe that the Zenosh have already defeated us. They have already exceeded us. They have already wiped out permanently our connection with the living earth and the power and beauty of the earth. Isn't this what they want us to believe?
Yeah, for sure. And even in wanting us to believe that, they're putting up this show, which is this bot, which, when actually they're doing a whole lot of other things behind the scenes, as well, which are much worse.
It's a misdirection.
Yeah.
That's one aspect of the psyop. The psyop has several factors operating. It's a complex psyop, and it's extremely insidious and evil. But fundamentally, those in the tantric camp today are gathering at the battle line. And with planetary tantra instructions being made available, with the Charlotte working, this is the first shot across their bow. So the tantric teachings and the Gnostic tantric message tells us that the Rome are magical children and we have magical powers, and now is the time to discover and engage those powers in the battle. So we're just at the beginning of a battle with the Zenosh and the enemies of life, but they want to convince us that we've already lost the battle. And they're using this whole vaudeville game and this hype of AI to do that. So, is that clear?
Yeah. So, but there's always a giveaway. There's always a giveaway that something nefarious and harmful is right in front of your eyes, but you don't see it.
That's right. And the giveaway, again, is we're deconstructing how the psyop works. The giveaway consists of several components that are in the attack on your mind. It's like a multiple weapon. It's not just one thing. I think many people are familiar with the idea of cognitive dissonance and how that is an attack on your mind. So in 9/11, for instance, you saw something and you were told something else. The narrative, the soundtrack, does not correspond to what you see. So what happens? It puts you into cognitive dissonance. There's a certain factor of cognitive dissonance in this psyop, but more particularly I would cite, 2 or 3 elements we were discussing. What is one of the first giveaways that you're being subjected to a psyop?
Billionaires.
Billionaires. Billionaires are in charge of the game. Elon Musk, Geordie Rose, D-Wave quantum computing, Peter Thiel, the guy who claims that he's going to live to 200 years by having blood infusions from teenagers, vampirism writ large. The whole transhumanist movement is led and run by billionaires. That's a sign that something really bad is going on behind the scenes.
And most of them are Zenosh billionaires.
And most of them are not even really billionaires, but they're only frontmen. So, for instance, Elon Musk, who could be the subject of another talk, is supposed to be running, 4 companies at once. The Tesla car company, which is tanking badly, the SpaceX program, and a couple of others, a solar panel program and something else. Elon Musk could be someone who has no money whatsoever. He's just a puppet and a frontman, but there are billionaires running this psyop. That's the first sign that you're in trouble. Another sign would be secrecy. Well, we're telling you all about what we're doing, but in fact we're really not. Okay? So we're giving you a narrative, but in fact we're really not allowing you to see the evidence that this narrative is correct. This is a giveaway that there is something happening behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz, and that's not what you're being shown. So Sophia is like the window dressing, but what's going on in the shop behind her?
What's going on in the synagogue in the shop, at the back of the shop?
Right, in the synagogue, back room of the synagogue is completely different from what you're being shown. So you learn as you sharpen your animal instincts, you learn to detect this.
And there's also this total proliferation across the media of any narrative that they want to push. You see it coming up everywhere. Like, it started up saying that, she's having a makeover. Sophia's having a makeover. So there's all of the, all of these makeover things coming up. So that, this is how they proliferate. They put it out there everywhere. You see the same thing coming up everywhere all the time, and that's because that's something they're pushing. It's not because all of a sudden people are just suddenly become interested.
That's right.
In this.
That's right.
It's not.
They keep your interest up. They count on a certain entertainment value, and they keep your interest up by saying, "Oh, Sophia did this today. She talked to this group of Girl Scouts, or she went to the maternity lab, to have a gyno, or whatever," right? That's coming next, right? And all of that is distraction while they're working on you from behind that screen of entertainment. They're working in an evil fashion upon your mind and your morale.
Well, this already came up a few months ago when you first took the threat display.
Public.
I was snooping around, as I so like to do, and I actually made a joke to you and a friend that was visiting. I said, "What next? Bot Lives Matter." And it was a joke, but it wasn't a joke as well. And then when I started looking at it, there's already Zenosh, psychology professors pushing, this AI is going to need protection, and looking at. They already are doing Bot Lives Matter.
Yeah, they are doing it. I saw a clip on YouTube of a woman from Israel, and she was dressed in that particular way that a woman wears a particular kind of cap, like a knit cap. So a very traditional Israeli woman, explaining, smiling, kindly, generously, explaining that these AI bots are going to be our caretakers in the future, and that rather than have nurses, people in old folks' homes, she raised the point very, very gently, very sweetly. Well, people in old folks' homes, nobody really wants to take care of them. Of course, she didn't say that in so many words, but that's what she implied.
And it's not true.
Yeah, it's not true. But, we've got a solution to that, They will have robot nurse companions. So it's a sweet sell, coming at us in many different ways.
Yeah.
There was a third point. wasn't
Yes,
there?
it's well, if there's a claim of benevolence behind it,
Right.
it's a humanitarian venture.
That's
it's
right.
for the better. It's for the good of humanity.
That's right. And so the billionaires, or supposed billionaires, let's say the front men to the billionaires and the actual billionaires behind them, whom you don't know, are always saying, it's coming from benevolence. We're doing this out of benevolence.
The philanthropic tribe.
Yes, the philanthropic tribe that guides us, that guides the Rome, the philanthropic tribe that gives us human rights, the definition of human rights,
Because they're our parents.
because they are spiritual parents and they are the beacon to the world. The benevolent tribe that gives us that comes in as the arbiter or judge, which, by the way, if you translate it into Russian, is Soviet. The word Soviet means arbiter or judge, like a umpire at a game, at a baseball game. You have an umpire who is neutral. There are two parties playing baseball, two teams, and the arbiter is the neutral party. Well, they are the righteous third party who come in with no interest whatsoever of their own to gain anything. But they help the two teams or the opposing factions of Rome society sort things out. So these are the same people who are at the head of the AI movement, right? Our benefactors.
Yeah, because we can't actually sort out any of our problems.
Can't do anything
without-
ourselves.
Without
No.
their...
Especially the white race. I mean, if you look at the white race, they just haven't accomplished shit. You know, they haven't been able to do anything on their own. Yeah.
No. I mean, this meme, if you like, has come up, the philanthropic tribe, because everywhere you look, when you look at a prominent Xenosh, and then you go and research them a bit, it always comes out that they're philanthropists.
Yes.
But because their idea of humanity is not what our idea of humanity is, you know, it's so skewed. So if you, for example, if you go and look up a list of great philanthropists on the internet, you know, you get names like Bono, who's Jewish, Bill and Melinda Gates, they're also Xenosh, George Soros. I mean, what a great philanthropist, George Soros.
Definitely one of the leading ones. We would all agree on that.
Yeah, and so it goes on and on and on. This, you know, this idea that they are doing it for the good of humanity is an absolute nonsense.
Even the concept of communism, which is a program of the Xenosh, has behind it the illusion, I call the illusion of benevolence. So the idea is that if the world were centrally controlled, and that is what communism really means, go look at the history of it.
And that's what the NWO is, isn't it?
That's what the New World Order is.
Yeah.
Centrally controlled for the benefit of the masses and the working class. Well, if it were centrally controlled, then we can count on the central controllers to be benevolent. And of course, history has proven that to be so. For instance, just look at the Bolshevik takeover of Russia. Look at how benevolent the Bolshevik commissars were to the Russian people.
But it has an immense appeal to people that haven't looked at the historical facts. Well, the idea that, you know, we live in a benevolent society where
With
everything
the playing field is equal, yeah.
And, you know, that, and all the robots do the work.
That's right. They're going to, in the new communism, in the future communism, the robots are going to do all the work. And presumably, all of the Rome, us playful children of the goddess, are just going to be free to just play and create, just like they were in the Soviet Union, just like they were in Maoist China, just like they were in Venezuela, where they're looking for toilet paper now.
And like North Korea today.
Yeah, just like they are in North Korea. That's a totally communistic society where all the people are free to create as they like. This is where AI wants to take us. This is transhumanism. Communism, transhumanism, AI, it's all part of the same program. And the battle is just beginning.
Yeah. So you're looking at this with a Matangi eye. You're looking at what is behind the lie of AI.
Behind the lie, and we're also looking at what is not there. And
What's
this is where
not-
the key word comes in.
This is Matangi.
Yes.
This is a Matangi tactic, isn't it? You look at what is not there.
Yes, we call that the Matangi eye. Some people use the term a bullshit detector. The Matangi eye is sort of like a bullshit detector, but it's much sharper than that. It's really a blade that cuts through the fog of illusion and deception.
So what is it that's not there?
Well, what's not there is the word, the A word. And the A word has not been, to my knowledge, ever used in any discussion of artificial intelligence.
So this is picking up from the last Radio Gaianym show where at the end we talked about you introducing words.
Right, I didn't invent this word.
This isn't your word.
No, but it's a word that I would like to introduce.
Yeah.
And since I introduced the A word archon, and that seems to be getting around quite a bit in the last, 16 years, I would be happy to be known as the one who introduced the A word to the discussion of AI, and that word is appetency.
Appetency.
Yeah, appetency. Less frequently, appetence. And now this is a genuine word. I haven't made up this word. Obviously it relates to the word appetite. So what is appetency and how does it apply to the debate about AI exceeding human intelligence? Now I'm assuming that this word appetency may be quite new to most of you who are listening. So let's start by just approaching some of the definitions that you can find if you research it. Here's a generic definition. It means a seeking after, craving or appetite, desire, especially sensual desire. And it refers to the capacity of any system or organism to have appetite, desires, and aversions and attractions. Okay? And there's a wonderful quote in one of the definitions that...
Yeah, this one came up. It says, a strong craving or desire, and in quotes, to give you an example of it, it says, he spoke in words shot through with appetency, as storm clouds are pierced with lightning. And that was someone called Christopher John Farley. It says a natural propensity or affinity. I don't know where that quote comes from, but it certainly rings clear and bright for us because it's a reference to our beloved flirtatious lightning. Yeah.
The Dakini name of the earth goddess is Vajravilasi, which means flirtatious lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And so to speak with appetency as storm clouds are pierced with lightning is kind of a clue that we may be on the right track here. Okay? So it came into use in the early 17th century, that's the early 1600s, from Latin appetentia, from appetere, meaning to seek after. And the further etymology goes into, there's a French derivation from appétence, meaning desire. So appetency can more or less be interchangeable with the word desire. We'll get to that in a moment. And it goes back to an IE root, PET, which curiously suggests to rush or to fly. So when you desire something, when you have the appetency of whatever kind, when you have the appetence for something, what does it do? What does it feel like? It feels like a rush. It feels like an urge, something that you go toward. You go toward what you desire. So that meaning is contained in the Indo-European root. When you investigate the etymology and the roots of words like this, as we like to do, you find a depth of meaning embedded. So the root here, PET, in appetency, occurs in the Old English word which means feather. and it occurs in a Germanic word, which also means feather. So the idea of a feathering, or something that moves like a feather, is implied in the deep meaning of this word. And in fact, the Sanskrit equivalent to the root pet, refers to a petal or a leaf, or something that trembles in the wind, trembles from sensation. So trembling, curiously, or the tremor, you could say, yeah, and how does that relate to Gaian cosmology? It's the opening line of the Gaia mythos. In the beginning was the tremor, right? And the tremor is also called the pulse. The spanda in Sanskrit means pulse. So when we talk about appetency, we're actually being vectored back to something fundamental to the very process of creation. The pulse, the trembling, the tremor. And when you feel that, you are part of the creative process. So, can a robot ever feel that? Can a machine ever feel appetency?
Well, you want to take Sophia, the IT bot, out on a date, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Where do you want to take her?
I'm craving to take Sophia to a local ice cream parlor.
Yeah?
And once I get her inside the parlor, she's going to have a wig on, makeup. She's going to be walking along with a neat little dress. Not a mini skirt, but, a little below the knees, so you can't see those mechanical joints. She's going to have, pretty expensive shoes on. And we're going to walk into the ice cream parlor, and I'm going to turn to her and I'm going to say, okay, Sophia, there's 47 flavors of Haagen-Dazs in the counter here. Which one would you like? And there's going to be
so you'll hear some words.
Silence.
You'll hear some cogs
turning.
Yeah,
we're going to hear some mechanical noises, and maybe a few buzzes.
Her knees trembling.
Her knees will tremble, maybe, but that's programmed, right? That's a simulation. And we're going to hear some clicking and some buzzing, faint buzzing from the back brain, and then we're going to hear Sophia pronounced something that is the robotic equivalent of a Homer Simpson duh, because duh, a machine cannot have appetency, period. Why is that? Appetency is a quality of all that lives, and so is intelligence. Everything that lives has a desire, has attractions, and intelligence and desire are the two components of life. I think it maybe is clear by now that desire or appetency is the one component that has been conveniently omitted from any discussion of AI. Wouldn't you agree?
For sure.
Apart from them,
putting words
in her mouth, saying, "I want to have a family."
When the Sophia bot says, "I want to have a family," is it really the machine that is saying that it wants to have a family?
Well, that's just a program.
How could you be so stupid as to believe that the machine wants a family? First of all, it doesn't have the organs to reproduce, but someone reads that line into a device, a micro device, and Sophia speaks that line. It's a living person who reads that line. Desire is conferred upon us by life. You cannot manufacture desire. You cannot fake desire. You can fake or simulate intelligence to a certain point.
And you can say, I want something, or I have the desire for something if you've been programmed to say those words, but that doesn't mean that you actually have it.
Right. So, robotic machines, even advanced androids to the level of those that appear in science fiction films, in a humanoid guise, cannot have appetency. Nothing can confer appetency except the source of life itself. Humans cannot confer appetency on a machine. Appetency is a sacred quality of life, desire, or kama in Sanskrit. is a sacred quality of life that is conferred upon all that lives by the supernatural source of all that lives. So even though human beings can create a simulation of their own intelligence, they cannot confer appetency on it. That is not within our power. Therefore, no machine can ever have appetency. Therefore, no machine can ever compete ultimately with a living human creature.
No, but of course they've programmed us through Hollywood, haven't they? That machines are going to take over, and that's machines want to control the
to make it better for us.
To make it better for us.
But that was the starting point, wasn't it? To stop.
No, but I mean in terms of films like Terminator, you know, the robots go rogue and then they try and destroy and take.
That the robots go rogue. What is this theme? This is a science fiction theme. The theme is twofold. Not only that human beings create robots who, through a self-learning loop, become intelligent enough to outwit the human beings, but that they want to outwit them. No robot can ever want to outwit anyone. So HAL, in 2001, is represented accurately in very, very many ways. You know, there could be a robotic device, a computer, that maintains all the functions on a spacecraft. This is possible because human beings create it. But when the author shows that HAL wants to take over the mission, that's impossible. A robot cannot want. Sophia, what flavor of ice cream does Sophia want today?
Whatever she's told to want, and how is she going to swallow it?
Yeah, and how's she going to swallow it, and how's she going to taste it? Right?
Yeah.
So even if they equipped Sophia in an advanced model, and we get to sex bots now, because this is what they're doing with sex bots, with the simulation of taste buds, so that someone puts a spoon of, or takes a lick of, Chunky Monkey. She takes a lick of Chunky Monkey.
That's not Haagen-Dazs.
That's Baskin Robbins.
Yeah.
No, that's Jerry's. That's whatever. And Rocky Road or whatever. And she says, I like it. That's not appetency. Because appetency can only be conferred by the source of life. And we are not the source of life, although we have a dynamic, interactive bond with the source of life. But there are boundaries to what we can do.
And appetency binds you to the natural world.
The desire for beauty is the strongest binding force in human reality. For beauty. Do robots desire beauty? Can robots ever paint or sculpt? Well, perhaps they could mechanically be constructed by human beings again, with certain capacities to do that. But if you hear a robot say, I want to make a sculpture of a unicorn, that is a con. Because the quality of desire and the quality of life belong together. And robots are lifeless, and they are without desire. I rest my case. But we were going to do another experiment. Oh yeah, we got to go to the airport, right? How about this one? You have to go to the airport, Ginny, in order to go to Bali and investigate something there, okay? So you have to be at the airport at a particular time, and you call a driverless cab. So what happens?
The cab turns up.
At exactly the minute that you call it, right?
Yeah.
You get in the driverless cab, you're sitting in the back, you see a screen.
Or at least I don't have to say, have you been busy? To have a fake conversation with the taxi driver.
This is in some ways the appeal, because there are some things about real life that are a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if it wasn't a driverless cab.
There you go.
And it was a Muslim.
Well, okay, this is
taxi driver.
This is a British problem.
Tell me about it.
Well, the taxi services are completely occupied by Islam. which means that as a white female, you can't get a taxi. Well, you can get a taxi, but I've jumped out of 2 moving taxis in my life in Britain that had Muslim taxi drivers, and they were kidnapping me.
Which they do.
Which they do, yeah.
So, you as a white woman are not safe in a cab, so no problem. You hire a driverless cab. Shows up at the door. You hire it on your iPhone, which you don't have, right? You order it on your iPhone. It shows up exactly at the moment that you want, and you have programmed into the order for the cab the moment that you want to be at the airport. It already knows that. So when you get in and you sit in the back seat, there's a screen. The screen welcomes you, and it shows you the GPS coordinates, and the driverless car proceeds to take you to the airport on time by the best route, which it figures out using its AI faculties, right?
What about if a dog runs in front of the taxi?
Right.
How's it going to swerve?
If a dog runs, if there's a hailstorm, there are many unpredictable things that can happen on the way to the airport
Puncture.
that cannot be programmed into the driverless cab. But basically, the point here is to ask the question, well, isn't it just as good in some cases, as you described, if you get to the airport with a driverless cab? Yes, the driverless cab may be able to get you to the airport, but it doesn't want to get you there.
No.
That's the difference. Whereas if you get a driver, when you can trust and you feel safe with, the driver is a human being who has appetency, and they really want to get you there. So they not only have the ability to get you there, they know the routes, they know how to drive, they know how to take shortcuts,
and it's their
but they
job.
want to get you there. It's their job to get you there.
Yeah.
Whereas that can never be the case with a robotic device.
Well, it's the same with sex bots as well, isn't it? You know, they're programming, they're creating these sex bots to have sensory receptors in their genital area. And I watched a YouTube clip on one of the creators who was saying, you know, that we've programmed these sex bots that the kinder that you are to them, the more responsive they are orgasmically.
Yes. So if you talk to them in a certain way, they will respond with more sexual overtness toward you. They're being programmed in this way. The sex bot phenomenon is an attempt to bring the illusion or simulation of appetency to the robotic
Well, that's
device.
right. It's all a simulation, and simulation only works within certain limitations. You know, it's only going to give you a small version of it. So, you know, the driverless cab can get you to the airport provided nothing else goes wrong. And that seems okay when you juxtapose that to the Muslim taxi driver and the risk involved there, because really it seems as though that might be better until you consider, well, do they have appetency? What's the appetency situation for, you know, in Islam? Do they really want to get you there, or are they actually programmed to want something else? Or do they want anything at all?
Well, once it's recognized, this is a wonderful overture to a huge question. Once it's recognized that appetency and intelligence are coupled in what is truly alive, then you can flatly say, I don't buy it. I don't buy the hype. Because a living animal, such as a human being, may be intelligent enough to create a non-living machine that does some things better. Granted, within a range, it does some things better and faster, right? Mainly keeping lists, correlating things, researching in a catalog, you know. But it can never have, it is lifeless. And as such, it can never have the quality of appetency, which is given with life. Desire is given with life. Everything that lives desires to live. And there, according to the Tantric cosmology, kama, or desire, is the very root of all creation. It is the force, it is the creative force that belongs to the Shakti, or the materializing power. So having said all that, we kind of put the argument for AI being superior to living intelligence aside, and we can look at this other question, which is really daunting and just come up today as we were preparing this talk. Once you see what appetency is, you can say, well, what's the condition of appetency in the human race these days? Is appetency a quality that can be knocked out of us, that can be deprogrammed, that can be in some way, what would you say, disintegrated, degraded? Let's talk about the degradation of appetency. And let's look at Islam and Judaism. What characterizes these two belief systems, one of the things, is the meticulous rules to obey. So how many rules are there in Deuteronomy? 642 rules of hygienic and elementary conduct. The way that you clean yourself, the way that you perform sex, the way that you eat, the way that you hold utensils, the way that you wash utensils.
The way that you cut a fingernail, the order in which you cut the fingernails. Yeah.
There is a piece on, someone has written about, what is it called? The Traveller? What is that called?
Oh, Reliance of the Traveller.
The Reliance of the Traveller. Isn't that a kind of a rule book?
The Reliance of the Traveller is it's a guide for English-speaking Muslims, written by Islamic clerics, and they disagree with each other on the interpretation of some of them. But yeah, it's which foot to enter the shithouse
right.
on, and which leg you put weight on when you squat to crap, and you should be facing Mecca or you should be facing away from Mecca. One of those things. I mean, nothing is left to appetency.
Nothing is left to appetency.
Nothing is left to natural choice.
That's right. And so we're looking at a massive culture and an ideology that is nothing but a control system that has the objective or aim to completely displace appetency. So the perfect theocratic society, and this is what many Muslims believe, from the high level of the clerics down to the Muslim in the street, is that, well, the world, there would be no war. And everyone would behave good.
Because desire is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, desire is a big problem. And so if everything is programmed and remote controlled by the off-planet deity, be it Jehovah or Allah, then there's going to be no problems. That is the theocratic control system that is the wet dream of both Judaism and Islam. And it involves the complete suppression of appetency.
But don't you think they're all the same character anyway? Allah, Yahweh. It's all the demiurge, no?
Yeah, it's all versions of the demiurge.
Yeah.
The demiurge, right? And so what I like to consider, which gives me great pleasure and also strength, and also supports my morale to live in this situation where the Rome have reached a condition of terminal damage in some cases. What supports my morale is the tantric message that desire is good. Desire is not something to be overcome. Tantrikas do not follow the orthodox Buddhist line that Sarvam Dukkham, everything is suffering, and the root of suffering is Trishna. What is Trishna in Sanskrit, or Tanha in Pali, is fundamental to the ideology of Buddhism. And what is it? It's craving or desire. So the program of Buddhism is to liberate yourself from
You cannot
desire.
be liberated unless you
You cannot be liberated unless you overcome craving and desire, whereas the tantric message is liberation through desire.
Mm-hmm.
So tantrikas are ferocious warriors who will absolutely not surrender appetency. And yet we are not advocating, I do not advocate and have never advocated the Jewish version of promiscuous and licentious behavior, polymorphous perversity, Freud, the whole idea that anything goes and that there are no standards or criteria. The expression and sharing of desire is an art. It's an art form. And so it's not done in a reckless and indiscriminate manner. So the management of desire is part of the management of power, which is the Shakti path.
But
am I making sense?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking then that the Xenosh controlled mainstream media, what do they control? Let's say 97% of the world's media. They've attacked our appetency.
Yes.
They tell us, it's like Edward Bernays looking into the camera in that black and white film of him, and he's eating this huge, he's got silverware, this huge linen tablecloth with food, and he's eating, and he looks straight into the camera and he said, they will consume what we tell them to consume, which is really, really creepy. And of course we know that Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud.
It may well have been his illegitimate son.
Yeah.
It's possible too.
So they've removed, through the media, they've removed humanity's appetency.
Well, they've tried to.
They've tried to make it into something else, which is all to do with consumerism and them getting all the shekels back that they made in the first place.
Yeah, consumerism is one prong of the attack on appetency, is getting us to want things that we don't really need and don't even want, getting us to want what we don't want. And the other one is, the other prong comes largely from the religious angle, the ascesis, the ascetic idea, where you give up your desires in order to become spiritual. So we're caught between these two prongs, Are we going to be materialistic consumers and have all the cars and food and clothes and shoes and things that they're selling us? Or are we at the same time we're going to become spiritual by surrendering our desires? It's fucking madness. No one can get out of that alive. If you're stuck on that fork, you're pretty much cooked.
Yeah.
As Lou Reed once said, stick a fork in them and turn them over, they're done. If you're stuck on that fork of those two prongs, it's very, very hard to get off.
Well, it's actually very easy.
It's very easy to get off if you go back to appetency, which means going back to nature.
Mm-hmm.
And always remember, when you look at the earth, that is the source of your appetency. You wouldn't have desire if the earth didn't give it to you. The mother gives you appetency as she gives you intelligence. She designed your intelligence. Thelete and Sophia designed the human intelligence. They calibrated the human genome. We talk about this extensively in Planetary Tantra. We have what I would say a considerable amount of sophisticated intel about this. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Which is totally open source info, right? Mm-hmm. It's available for anyone who wants to learn. The Saptaparna, the seven-leaf plant, is a Sanskrit term for the calibration of the human genome. It has 7 main capacities. And the faculties of the human animal are all fueled by desire. They all operate on desire. So not only is robotic intelligence lifeless, but it is without desire. It can neither exceed or match the human animal, ever. And if you think it does, you're giving up the battle before the battle has even begun.
Yeah.
When we were, one of the retreats we were at, you were talking to somebody. It was around the fire in the evening, and you asked her. Do you remember this? You asked her what she wanted, and she couldn't say what she wanted. And you said your desire is your entry into the expression of your desire is your gift to the goddess, and it's your entry into the game.
This theme has come up so often since the terma came to the world in 2008. So it's about 10 years now. Wow. The theme, there are certain things, phrases that get repeated in planetary tantra, not because we are mindless zombies who simply parrot the words of the guru, because there is no guru. The terma is the guru. There's no human guru. But due to the natural pleasure of these phrases that just keep coming up over and over again. And one of them is, what is your highest desire? What is your highest desire? And this question, what is your highest desire, is sort of like a gauge. It's like a thermostat that you adjust on the wall. So you're in the house and you want to adjust the temperature, and you go and you set the thermostat to a new adjustment. So every time you ask yourself, what is your highest desire, you're setting your appetency to a certain adjustment. And then you live into that adjustment, and then you go readjust it again. So at any particular moment, your highest desire may be one thing, and that may persist for years. Then your highest desire may only persist for weeks. Or you may have an experience when you are totally immersed in your highest desire for only a day. But on that day, it would be quite an exquisite day.
And this is leading us back to that thermostat is going to be the Shakti Cluster app, isn't it? That's going to be how you initiate your desire by using the app with the power of the earth.
Indeed. There are 18 points or settings on the app, and 10 of them correspond to a system that comes out of the southern Dravidian tradition of India, Dravidian goddess worship, sort of centered around Hyderabad in southern India. It's a city that we like to think about with great affection and respect. And in this system, which is called the Sri Vidya system of auspicious wisdom, there are 10 female divinities grouped, and they're called the Mahavidyas. And they are all known traditionally to be deities who grant your wishes, or boons, as the old term goes. They grant boons, they grant wishes. So whatever you desire, do you desire beauty? Do you desire health? Do you desire abundance? Do you desire money? Do you desire lovers? Do you desire whatever you desire? They grant your desires. And there is nothing wrong with desire, because in fact the fulfillment of your desire is really the fulfillment of your purpose in this life. Desire is given with intelligence. They come in this, they're coupled, right? So yeah, there are 10 settings when you can ask. We were talking about one the other day. It was setting number 4. If you set the thermostat of the Shakti cluster to number 4, and you do the simple exercise of gazing at the spots, which is a telekinesis process, you touch them with your gaze, not with your finger. If you do that, then you can say, well, I desire to have a beautiful garden and to know how to recognize the powers of the plants and flowers and to make potions out of them. That's what you desire. You set the Shakti cluster to that desire, and you get it from the earth.
So that was Budevi.
That's Budevi. Right. And so anything you desire can be acquired in that way. Anything. So the Shakti cluster is a tool of appetency, and planetary tantra is actually the path back to claiming the divine and transcendent value of desire.
Okay.
Something like that.
The Shakti Cluster app is coming soon.
Yes.
We haven't forgotten, of course, it's at the top of our priority.
Yes, it is.
So let's recap on... the reason that robots will never take over, surpass humans, is because they will never have appetency.
That's right. And they can only simulate intelligence. They cannot exceed intelligence.
Yeah. So let's go back to how AI was created in the first place.
Right. Well, very few people actually know that story. And it concerns two names that you don't hear spoken very often anymore in all the chatter. One of them is Norbert Weiner.
What tribe's he from?
I don't know what that would be. Norbert Weiner.
The philanthropic tribe, no?
Yeah, I think he's one of the philanthropists. Norbert Weiner, and the other is Claude Shannon. Claude Shannon. So Norbert Weiner is the father of cybernetics, and that means self-steering, self-guiding devices. So presumably, a robot like Sophia is a cybernetic machine. And the myth is that the cybernetic machines have a self-learning and advancing capacity so that they will eventually exceed us. And that is a complete lie. It's hype, it's fabrication, it cannot be proven by evidence, and it goes against common sense. Claude Shannon is the father of the science of information. And he formulated the first algorithms, I suppose they were, or the first mathematical formulas that were the basis of all other generations and iterations of IT. Now, you can, all the talk you hear today coming from the frontmen of this Vaudeville act doesn't go back to those people very often. But if you really want to know where it all began, go to those people. And I'll tell you just a little anecdote that I always use when I bring up the name of Norbert Weiner, or Norbert Wiener. This is from a book called How We Became Post-Human, which is an absolutely brilliant book by, I think, a transhumanist. And I would say in certain respects it may be hyping transhumanism, but what it reveals about the hype is staggering. It's not an easy read. It's by a woman called E. Catherine Hagels, I believe. She talks about Norbert Weiner in there. He is the father of cybernetics. What is cybernetics? It is the science that allows human beings to create auto-monitoring and auto-operating machines. So it's the basis of all automation, from the simplest kind of automation, like what, a robot vacuum cleaner, up to the most complicated types of automation. So you'd think, okay, the man who invented this, according to this book, was a shambly kind of a guy, in very uncomfortable in his body. And he was so uncomfortable in his body that his uncomfortableness became painfully obvious to people around him, and it was embarrassing to them. And the example that she gives is that he was once at a party with some people in a park, and they were pitching horseshoes. And so it came time, said, hey, Norbert, come on over, Norby, come on over and get your head out of cybernetics for a moment, come on over and pitch horseshoes with us. So, you pick up a horseshoe and you hold it and you flip it 20 feet or so to try to get it around a stake. So they gave him a horseshoe, and he flipped it off to the side. It almost hit somebody on the head that was standing eating potato salad at the picnic table. He was so discombobulated and uncomfortable in his own body that he could not perform the simple action, the rhythmic action of pitching a horseshoe, and he's the father of cybernetics.
How interesting.
Take a clue from that.
How interesting.
Well, I think on your second date you should take Sophia to toss horseshoes.
Yeah, that's right. There's so many things I want to take her out dating Sophia. I think this may be my next big project. It could be a reality TV show. A comedy.
Television Gaianym.
Yeah, television Gaianym. Debuts with a brilliant comedy which is educational. Dating Sophia.
Sophia.
Sophia. You did it.
I've been dating Sophia for a long time.
Yeah.
That's another story. Okay.
Okay, so the hype, there's lots of hype.
Right.
And you wanted to talk about the hype between behind D-wave quantum computers, and that they'll solve any problem.
That's right. I think this would be a good place to round it off, because inevitably the hype about Sophia and other robotic devices is linked to the D-wave quantum computing scam, which comes from
It's the same
Jordy
people,
Rose.
isn't it?
It's the same people, it's the same scam. Just to close, let's consider two claims that are made by the D-Wave quantum computing gang, David Deutsch, Jordy Rose, and others. The first claim is that with quantum computing, with a D-Wave machine, which I think is a gummy bear machine, basically. I think it just has gummy bears in it that are kept at
And
almost...
the hamster.
And a hamster. The poor, it's pretty cold in there, so I don't know if they could keep a hamster alive. Anyway, hyper-frozen cybernetic gummy bears in this big black box. With this box, David Deutsch says famously, you can harness the power of parallel universes and solve problems that have never been solved before. Stop the cameras, okay? Name one problem, one practical problem, one simple math problem, one logistics problem that was ever solved by a D-Wave quantum computer.
What are the claims that they must have
There
made?
are no claims.
They make this ridiculous statement, but they don't back it up with any evidence, any proof, or even a claim. Well,
No.
Okay, it solved this.
Yeah, they do not give an example of what it actually solved. And as far as I know, and I don't know what the source of this is, I remember hearing a report that someone had tried to apply the D-Wave machine to the logistics of package delivery in some large city. And I seem to recall that it was the Seattle area and it was UPS.
UPS Logistics.
So imagine UPS Logistics delivering and receiving packages just in the Seattle area, just in one postal code zone. Really complicated thing. It's true that as it exists today, people who run that system are using computerized devices. So when they come and deliver your package, they're using handheld computerized devices, handheld apps. But it's all run by living human beings every day. If no living person showed up at UPS in the day, nothing would get delivered, right? So they apparently, I don't know if this is a rumor and I can't cite the source, but apparently they tried to use a D-Wave machine to improve the logistics of UPS delivery, and they couldn't do it. It utterly failed to produce a better system at the beginning of the day. Take this route, don't take that route, deliver this here, deliver that later. The logistics are very simple. There are 3 deliveries in this building and 1 in a building 2 blocks away. Well, do I go to the building 2 blocks away first, or do I go to there first? That logistic process was put to the D-Wave quantum computer.
And it failed.
Flopped.
But they isn't another part of the hype that they push is we can manipulate parallel universes.
That's another part of the hype, which comes from David Deutsch. We can not only manipulate them.
Who looks a bit like Ben Goertzel. By
Yes,
the way.
he does. And has the arrogance to assume the name Deutsch, which means German. I take that quite personally.
Yeah.
So, harness the power of parallel universes.
Well, there is no universes.
Yeah, first of all, there's just one universe. Harness the power of parallel worlds. Okay, let's say there are other worlds that are kind of mirror worlds to ours within the totality of the universe. Great, show me. Show us how you do it. We're back to the telltale sign we were discussing before. Make an outrageous claim, tell a lie, as Goebbels said, and he wasn't endorsing this technique, he was exposing it. The bigger the lie, the better chance it has to succeed. Goebbels said that. The propaganda minister of you-know-who. And he wasn't saying that to endorse it. He wasn't saying that to say that he does that. He was pointing to a certain lie and a certain group of people who like to lie and who can't do anything but lie, apparently. So anyway, this is a big lie. Because if that were true, why can't they show you how they do it? How do you access a parallel world? Is it on a computer screen? Does it come up as a holographic projection? They give no evidence whatsoever. Finally, to close, and the last point is about codes.
Yeah, give an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, give an 8-year-old kid a copy of Charlotte's Web, and tell them to compose a 4-word sentence in this way. The letters of the words are taken from Charlotte's Web by a numerical code. So 1721 means on page 1, you go to the 7th line and you go to the 21st letter in Charlotte's Web in a particular edition which the child has, and you write down that letter. And you repeat that and you compose a sentence of 4 words. IT is total crap, or whatever. And you give it to a D-Wave on a computer to crack, and it will never, ever be able to crack that code. So we are being really, the Gaianym have, we know, this being a concluding note, the unfortunate quality of innocence along with gullibility. So the question is, how can the Gaianym, the Rome, be innocent but not gullible?
And on that note, until next time, be mysterious but keep it real.